What's going on, boys? Nogads here. Welcome back to another video. And in today's video, we're going to go over the 4-2-3-1 custom tactics and instructions post-patch. This works for both old gen and new generation in particular. This is sorry for the delay, by the way. It's been tested after the live tuning updates. That's why it took me a couple of days. Then I waited for the patch to come out. Then I released it. Let's get straight into it. Just to make this clear, this is my attacking variation of the 4-2-3-1. Next week on Friday will come out my more balanced defensive variation. But this is the more offensive variation, as you guys requested that. So the first one we're going to start with is pressure and heavy touch. I would say it's a good conservative. People actually, they don't really look at pressure and heavy touch too much. They always skip to PAPL, as I like to call it. But with this one, it's basically balanced. The team keep in shape, but only when the game deems statistically there's a good chance to win the ball. And actually, the game is quite smart enough. One thing EA does good there is that they actually put this in place correctly. When there's a really good chance when your opponent takes a heavy touch, your team will press, I suppose you can say is depicted by this diagram. But it's mainly when your opponent takes a heavy touch or he doesn't control the ball as well, your team press together as a unit. So you think of it like balanced, AI helps you when you can. Now, I know there's been some defensive changes for the opponent's end. We'll get through that in a second. But let's focus on our side. The width, 55, we've increased this. Naturally speaking, because we are playing a bit wide. I think people have got players with much more stamina now. So you can afford to be a bit more wide. You can afford to cover the space. Because let's be honest, FUT Birthday's made a lot of cards affordable. So there's no real excuse. For 400k, you can make a fantastic team. So no more 80 pace players at CDM, no more 75 players, that's for sure. The depth, we kept it on 50. I still think at this stage of the game, you don't want to be too far ahead. Yes, I know there's this auto offside. People talk about, yeah, it's been fixed. Yeah, but the truth is, the 3-1 meta is still there. If you are going to get some, whether you're playing aggressive or not, you don't want to get caught in behind. And whether you like it or not, L1 plus triangle still is the meta way of scoring goals. I don't score that way, but we know there are many people that do abuse that method. And if you have too far of a defensive line, if people don't understand this, but you don't have time to recover. Yes, you might see the techs, the pro players all use this, but just remember, they have that ability to recover in this gap. So let's be, the truth is, 50, even I use 50, to be honest. It's not worth using 70 unless you're playing 100% concentration. Now, this is where things take a turn. Now, from the live tuning update, there's a couple of things that happened. So let's say, for example, the opponent's end. The blue team, the defensive width between these gaps, in theory, is being extended, especially when the ball is towards the edge of the box. So, number one, the team won't drop back as much, and they're a bit more separated, I suppose you can say, to give you more space to shoot and to score goals. This is important for two reasons. One is that don't expect no dramatic change. It's a slight difference, but it's not going to be dramatic. But I think it's significant enough for you to go forward. And that's why I've gone towards long ball now. I used to play on my defensive version. I think now, because people are not getting used to, you know, especially in new gen, right? Auto drop back feature is there. Now, the idea is long ball is that when you do get the ball back, you want to counter. I think everyone's got fast players now. No one's got slow wingers. When the game came out, people have wingers that got 85 sprint speed. Yes. Everyone's got 99 sprint. You know, you got 99 that came out. You got Charisma. You got all these players that came out, right? They got all good stats. So no one's got an excuse. You can buy Alisson for 19k. Morales you can buy for like 30k. So there's no excuse. So long ball is just saying, okay, you know what? We want to get in behind. Because don't forget, there's no getting behind feature with cams, guys. Don't forget, for strikers and wingers there is, left mids and right mids. But for cams, there's no getting behind options. So what you're basically saying is when you get the ball back, when you get the ball, those players are going to be making those darting runs forward and trying to get into the space. So you, if you want to, abuse this through ball if you want to, you can go forward. Or you can counter your opponent very, very fast. It's very, very good in combination with pressure and heavy touch, because if you win the ball back very, very quickly, let's say you press the ball in the middle of the pitch, the players will run forward to break into the gap. So long ball works very, very well with pressure and heavy touch. Now, for chance creation, contrary to belief, everyone loves direct passing. I am still more in favor for forward run. So I say now, use both and decide which one you want. The truth is it just depends on your playstyle. For my playstyle, I prefer loads of players getting it behind and going forward. I think direct passing is mainly leaning towards the pro aspect of going down the wing, driven pass back into the middle, and then doing, or for example, passing it into the wing position, rotating it back in, doing a first time shot. You can still do that on forward runs, but the way direct passing works, it's a bit more effective how it breaks the line. It has been nerfed, I suppose you can say, a little bit with the patch, but it's still significant. But I would say just use either one of those two. I would say I prefer forward runs. I'd recommend it for most of you guys, but if you really want to, especially if you're on next gen, you may prefer direct passing. But I use forward runs. Now, for the offensive width, we've reduced this down to 30 now. Before, you wanted to be wider, and the idea was that you kind of want your lamb and your ram to occupy your opponent's left back and right back. It's slightly changed, but I think with the patch especially, don't forget the patch is only referring to next gen mainly. It doesn't really affect old gen, remember that. So you have to remember that you want people to be ideal in the central areas for you to have the more chance of scoring. So they're still going to be wide, but they're not going to be towards the sideline. You can always use hug the sidelines in game if you wanted to make them wider. So you want your cams to be about here-ish, not only for the finesse shot, but also to go forward inside the box to break through the gaps. And that way, hopefully, if you want to, you can always extend your opponent's back line and break the space in between, should I say, as opposed to before, where you ideally wanted your left mid or your lamb and your ram to be as wide as possible for the 1-2s, which you still do that, but you don't need to anymore because you do have that space in between. Players in the box, ever since December, I've gone with 7, just because the driven pass down the wing or the lofted pass inside the box is still very, very effective. And there's no reason why I want it to be on low. And especially now with players that can run back in time, there's no excuse anymore. Even on the defensive formation, I would still say at least minimum 5 or 6. Corners and free kicks, I put them on 1. Again, you can tune these to however you want to. I personally put them on 1 just because I prefer to pass my corners and pass my free kicks. But again, change it depending on your game style. Now, going over to the attacking instructions. So I've got my other old tactics here. I'm making the change now so you can see what's changed, okay? In the attacking phase, we have both the cam and the striker, both of them on get it behind. It's very important you put both of them on stay forward. This is what makes you attack in a 4-4-1-1. It's not really a 4-2-3-1, it's more of a 4-4-1-1. Think of this like the center forward, and that's the benefit of, getting the ball with long ball. They make a run going forward, also to make a run it behind. I personally have removed stay central and I left them unbalanced. Just because of the way the cerebral meta is, people are committing more players going forward. Sometimes you want your players to go down the way. Now, I would rather them stay centrally, but you may use better off just using leave it unbalanced, and the game will keep it centrally most of the time. But when a game deems it's right enough, you'll make them drift wide. For the lamb and the ram, we have left them both unbalanced, and you can put them on get into the box for the cross. Do not put drift wide and do not put free roam. It will not help you. You can try it if you want. You can put all these players on free roam. Yes, they will interchange, but don't expect what you're thinking in real life. They normally just stand there and they always occupy these awkward positions, even with the best players in the game. Unless your playstyle is pure random possession in the final third, I will not go near it. That's what I would say. No need for conservative on the cam as well, because of course everyone's got a stamina now. And of course, I just want to plug in my sponsor. Now, this video is sponsored by sponsored by myself, my Patreon series, patreon.com/NeilGuys. Link is down below in the description. Don't forget, we've got all the new skill moves, and don't forget, we've got the most viewed series, the Division 10 to Elite Division series, where I actually use this formation, maybe early much in its infancy, with a 100k team and a 1 million coin team. And I have every single video with the controllers as well, showing you exactly what buttons I'm pressing, only playing baseball, because for some reason, the entire community thinks you need to abuse mechanics. Let everyone else abuse mechanics. You want to get better at the game properly and not come back crying next year. Learn the basics. You never have to come back ever again. That's where you improve. You don't want to keep coming back trying to abuse, what's the new meta to abuse, what's the new skill move? You're not going to get better at the game. Focus on the basics, and that's the most important thing. It's like trying to drive an automatic car. You could if you drive manual the entire time, you know how the car works, know when to change gears. You want to drive automatic and use shift paddles? Get in a manual car, then you're stuck. But anyway, bit off topic. But anyway, both CDMs. Now, for one of them, I leave them on balanced, or you can leave them on get forward. Now, I play Cancelo and Hakimi, Team of the Year cards, both for CDM. They're both fantastic, okay? I can get away with leaving them both on cut passing lanes, and I can leave them both unbalanced. I can get away with it. Now, I would say that this does cause a lot of problems. I would say just focus on one play, because everyone keeps asking, why do I do that? I would say focus on the most defensive player on stable attacking, cover center, and cut passing lanes. That's the first one for one, the CDMs, okay? The other one, I would say put get forward, or you can leave it on balance. Now, because Cancelo is high and medium, balanced is fine. Don't forget, you're on forward runs and long ball. So when you're on balance, they're going to be making runs going forward. It's only if you use like slow build-up play, or let's say you're using balanced of possession attacking in the final third, you'll have to use get forward, just supplement them going forward. But you really don't need it. Absolutely do not choose, again, free roam. I don't think it helps realistically, especially when recycling the ball. Sometimes a lot of players, what they do is, it's a very common thing, is that they trigger the CDM. They go forward their CDM, and they've only got one guy left at the back isolated. And that means that when they lose the ball, they can't recycle the ball. So having two players on stay back is more beneficial. So what I would advise you to do, so you can leave it like this. If you don't know what I'm talking about, if you know what I'm talking about now, leave them both on step while attacking, and just feel free to trigger them when you want with the L1 or the LB trigger. That way you can supplement them whenever you want them to, and still have them there for the rotate. Because I've been coaching recently, right? A lot of elite players have been coaching, and the problem is they just force this player in because they see all the pro players do it, but they don't realize when the pro players do, if they can't make the attack, they wait for the CDM to go back and then they rotate the ball. While of other players, they just lose the ball and like, oh, I've got no one else to pass to, run for the other CDM, or they don't go back to left back and right back, and then they lose the ball. So I would say trigger them yourself manually. That would be the more advanced conservative thing to do, should I say rather. And you can always trigger them when you want to, and that way you have complete utter control. That's what I would say. For the left back and the right back, we have still gone with stay back, conservative overlap. Now, you can get rid of conservative. The reason why I did conservative at the beginning was for two reasons. One was because A was stamina. Stamina was getting killed. That was one thing, especially the lower tier players, especially like the 81 rated centre backs, left backs, and right backs. But now everyone's got good left backs and right backs. Let's be realistic. No one's running around with rubbish left back and right backs anymore. But one place that's conservative that no one talks about is when you're attacking and you lose the ball, sometimes when they're on balance, they commit forward and your opponent can make a through ball in behind. Think about this. Think about every single time you've got the ball. Have you ever noticed sometimes, occasionally, when your opponent does an L1 trigger to a striker, the striker makes a run, your player will sometimes step up and try to intercept it when the game thinks it's reasonable. The game still sometimes messes up. So what I would recommend is leave it on conservative, and if you then feel comfortable, then take it on balance. This actual feature actually helps a lot of people concede a lot less goals, to be honest. People don't realize that. So I would say leave it on conservative. I leave it on conservative, but if you want to, you can leave it on balanced. Both the centre backs on still while attacking, and the goalkeeper, I leave them on balance. If you want to now, you can of course, I don't touch this by the way, you can use sweeper keeper. I prefer to bring out the keeper manually myself. We all know now how it is that with keepers, basically, if for example you hold the triangle button for like a second and a half, when your opponent takes a shot towards goal, the keeper's animation is just ridiculous. They basically save everything. They end up becoming some next giant. I don't know what that spider is. I don't even know what that is. But they end up becoming some next giant. They cover a lot of surface area when you go towards the initial trajectory of the shot. They got a wider save radius, I would say, around about here. They got a wide, as opposed to staying on the line. So bringing them out is quite effective because we are using pressure on every touch, and of course we have a higher depth. You can use sweeper keeper. I recommend someone that's fast, or you can just press the triangle button yourself if you're used to it. So that's what I would recommend. I press triangle button myself, so I leave it on balance. But if you don't know when to do it, you can always use sweeper keeper. Anyway, guys, that is the 4-2-3-1 custom tactics and instructions. In case you're wondering, this is one of my teams, Arendil, Tolkien fan, of course. That's my setup, and what I do basically in game is I change to a 4-2-3-1, and then what I do is I put Cancelo and Hakimi there. Kakare goes right back, and then I have over there I have Tierney as well. That's basically how it is. And of course, both of these guys should be stay back off. Like, I don't know why in that situation. So join the attack. They should both be on stay back attacking. Again, with a left back and right back, if you want them to go forward, just trigger them with balance. There's no need to, for example, use getting behind or anything like that. You can just trigger them forward when you want to. Anyway, guys, that is my custom tactics update for the 4-2-3-1. Stay tuned next week for the more defensive, balanced option that I think a lot of you guys will enjoy. This is, of course, the more attacking variation. Don't forget my previous score series, patreon.com/Nil, guys. Links down below in the description and in the comment section. If you don't get better after 1 month, I'll refund your money. That is a Nil, guys, guarantee. Division 10 to Elite Division series will really well help you. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Take it easy and have a wonderful weekend. And of course, I'll catch you tomorrow. Peace out, guys.